And we're racing.
Yeah, good start as well. They go down to turn number 1. Daniel Kinsman getting the advantage as they head down to turn 2 up that straight. Scott Manson was in there as well, I noticed. Keep an eye on Jordan Boys coming from P7.
And he's going to be charging, isn't he?
Absolutely. That car to be set up fast. Probably set up for maybe a bit of early race pace just to make sure he can work his way through. 17 laps, in all seriousness, in comparison to finals in Australia, is quite short. Because at times, well, within the Rotax series in Australia, it's run according to kilometres, and it's 22 kilometres for the final. So whatever track we go to, according to how long it is, that's how long the final is. So the pre-finals being 20 laps, so they're quite long races.
So after the first lap, we've got Daniel Kinsman, Liam Matthew Kinsman, Scott Manson, Daniel Connor, Jordan Boys up to 5th, Reece Tinney, the South Island champ Christopher Cox in 7th, James Higgins in 8th, Andy Schofield 9th, and Brad Still rounding out the top 10.
Changing the race lead as well up at turn number 2. Matt Kinsman into the lead in kart number 1 in the Sodi kart, or Sodi as you call it over here. Pretty similar.
Look, there's 4 of them there. Jordan Boys he's going to tack onto this group shortly.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting to see the battle between that top 4. And now, I mean, it's closed up already. You can see there Scott Manson P3, Daniel Connor P4, Jordan Boys P5, Reece Tinney P6. He's right there as well. Matt Kinsman extending a bit of a lead though as they went across the line here. 0.3 of a second was the gap back to second place. So you'd suggest that group from second backwards is going to have to start working as there's a move on, and I think that might even be Jordan Boys down the inside at turn 2.
Down the former national champ Daniel Connor, around the arrow. Matthews just pulled a couple of car lengths there, and it's really starting to pay off, isn't it?
Well, that's the thing. If you can get that early break and potentially secure a bit of a lead in the early stages of the race, it can be very beneficial as a whole. As you get later into the races, see Scott Manson just trying to close up on the back of Daniel Kinsman as they come across the line in front of our commentary position here on the live stream. Jordan Boys P4. Daniel Connor has slipped a fair way back in 5th place now. Let's see, 0.8 is about back to 5th. Near enough. Yep. I will have to remember to wear glasses tomorrow. I do normally wear glasses when I commentate. So Matt Kinsman, kart number 1.
I mean, Daniel was quite strong toward the end of the race in the pre-final as well, you know, so whether, and look, that gap has plateaued a little bit there.
Yeah, Jordan Boys up to P3 now as well, past Scott Manson, so he could potentially be on a charge in the Praga as they go up this straight into what is effectively turn 1 from the start line. Shout out again to those people listening back in Australia as well. Good to see we've got an Australian acknowledgement of the flags here at the track as well. Fighting kangaroo, maybe not too reflective of the whole Australian spirit, but anyway.
They should have just had someone bowling around or something.
I thought we were going to stay away from the cricket till Sunday. This is Sunday's big hot topic to bring up.
Now, hello to everyone. I know there's someone from London, there's someone in Hong Kong watching. Invercargill.
Yeah, we even had people in Bali listening into a Pro Tour round one day. Don't know why they're listening in from Bali. I kind of would have thought being by the poolside having a few cocktails would be more interesting than listening to go-kart racing, but you never know, they could have been listening and enjoying a cocktail or two. Quite often it's funny, when we have our national event at the end of the year, we quite often get people listening in from all around the world because it's the final event before the Rotax Worlds, and they say that, or the Rotax people in Austria say, all the Europeans listen in to find out who their competition's going to be, how they stack up at the Worlds. There's a fun fact for you.
Look at Jordan Boys right on the back of Daniel Kinsman now.
Yeah, Praga versus Praga, 2nd and 3rd.
I mean, do you try work with Daniel Kinsman to catch Matthew, or do you...
Well, that's an interesting thing, isn't it? I mean, Jordan and Daniel are quite good friends. They get along really well, so they may well see that happen. How's Boys pace-wise compared to Daniel Kinsman as he goes down the inside? Yeah. Switchback could have been on. What are they like pace-wise? 45, 1:03 for Jordan Boys. That's fast.
The quickest lap of the race there. So we've still got 11 laps to run here.
Yeah, it's the important thing to remember. So Boys are already breaking away slightly from Daniel Kinsman at the moment. You can see there, and he opens it up as they go down towards turn 1. 45.441, new personal best time of the race for Matthew Kinsman as well. What's this weather going to do? Is it going to rain or is it going to stay clear? I'm not used to this New Zealand weather.
Yeah, it does feel like it could potentially...
I don't think it'll hamper the racing for the rest of the day, but if it does rain, of course, there goes your grip on the track for tomorrow. So, Jordan Boys, what are we now? 0.7 of a second. Back in second place, 45.3 again. He's biding his time now. He's got the second where he wanted to be. Now he's got to just peg away lap by lap to reel in this lead.
So it looks like Matthew's kart is just starting to, creep on. Do you reckon Jordan has, set up his kart so he's been able to get to the front early?
Yeah, that's my thought. Perhaps you can't predict that Matt Kinsman was going to break away to an early lead like he has. You never know. Knowing the boys team and so on, they will have something up their sleeve, no doubt, in the kart setup. Probably some of the most experienced competitors in Australian karting. They've raced for a lot of years, but just all over the place, constantly on the go. Back before he got into sort of Rotax full time, running junior Yamaha and junior light, as we call it over there. It's just like constantly every state title and different events, so they've got a lot of experience. He's only young as well. He's only 17.
Only 17.
Not even legally able to drink. Legal.
It just shows, how even Matt Kinsman now is almost one of the old ones. Look at Scott Manson there.
He's only young.
You got Andy Schofield, who's only young. Reece Tinney has not long been the singers, I don't believe.
And that's, as we were saying yesterday, today, earlier, with Jordan Boys, being 17, first Welds, and he goes P3, up against some of the most experienced drivers in the world, especially when you look at the Europeans on their home track in Spain last year.
4th, 5th and 6th all heating up here. Scott Manson, we've got Daniel Connor, Reece Tinney and Andy Schofield. So it's Connor, then Reece Tinney. Manson's starting to drop back a bit.
There's that gap between first, second and third is fairly even. Scott Manson, as you say, just back behind the cart of Schofield now. So Manson's back to P7.
So Kinsman does his fastest lap again. 45.37 for Matthew Kinsman. Jordan Boys on that lap did a 45.38. So there's nothing between them.
No. As far as the gap, it's 0.6 of a second. So
yeah. And even Daniel that lap, a 45.39. Who's going to be the first one to go off?
Well, 5.5 laps to go. Getting towards that closing stage of this race. He's going to have to make a charge soon if he's going to reel in that 0.6 of a second. And, well, you can reel in that 0.6 of a second, but then you've got to get past him as well. That's the difficult thing. It's a two-stage process.
Yeah. And even look at Daniel now, They haven't dropped him. He's right there. 5 laps to run.
Seen this situation so many times where things will come down to these last few laps to decide anything. So Matt Kinsman, Jordan Boys, Daniel Kinsman, Daniel Connor, Reece Tinney, Andy Schofield, Scott Manson, Chris Cox, James Higgins, Brad Still, the top 10 with 4 to run.
And the last time we had the Nationals here in 2007, Rotax Light, that's your racing. it all come down to the last corner of the last lap, and there was a big pile up, you know.
Yeah.
And, you know, so it just shows anything can happen. Especially, you know, when it's so competitive.
Yeah, you never know what could happen in the closing stages. Rotax Nationals last year, it was Rotax Heavy that it went down to the line, and it was a monumental incident on the final lap with Kel Tressiter and Brendan Nelson. And just, they were going for the lead and both wanted the same bit of bitumen at the same time and just speared off. Some crazy, epic crashes, some commentators might say. Drivers were okay, which was the main thing, and it was incredible to watch.
So a 45-4 for Matthew Kinsman, a 45-3 for boys. Daniel Kinsman at a 45-4-5.
Chris Cox setting a personal best time of the race back in lap position number 8. Been a good atmosphere around the pit area today. Of course, big day tomorrow. Rotax wise as well, Junior Max and Rotax Heavy. More Australians back behind the wheel.
So in the seniors we've got Lane Moore?
Yeah, we do, yeah. He should perform pretty well actually, I think. He did quite well in Dubbo actually in the last round of the Pro Tour.
So 2 to go. He's got to this point and he hasn't been able to chase him down, has he?
Perhaps that setup, like we said, you know, was on for the early stages of the race and just might not be anything left in the tank. Matthew Kinsman though, could he go back-to-back number 1 plates? Certainly looking like it might be the case.
Yeah, for Rotax Light, you know, New Zealand is obviously quite an achievement, you know, as much as it would be in Australia, so.
Well, that's it. I mean, how many times did we see David Serra win Rotax Light in Australia? That was multiple occasions. Now, of course, you can't do that. You can't turn up to an event, one event, and win that green plate. You've got to race the whole series to...
So they're on the last lap now. Matthew Kinsman, fastest lap of 45.2.
That's incredible. Lap number 16 of 17 in a national title final.
Just shows that they're pushing.
Well, that's the thing. He just hasn't given up this whole race, has he? He's just continued to plug away with consistently fast lap times. There's the number 1 Sodi in shot here. Coming around to complete what will be a back-to-back national title win here in New Zealand. Matthew Kinsman, one last look back. Job is done. Day is done. Checkered flag. Matt Kinsman, your 2015 New Zealand National Rotax Light Champion.
What a feeling. You know, Thomas Boys had to work, but, you know, he got there and just couldn't quite get there.
I think it's a good drive from him to come from 7th up to 2nd, though, in such an early stage of the race and be able to maintain that position. Hold off Daniel Kinsman in 3rd. Daniel Connor P4, Reece Tinney P5.
Andy Schofield in P6. Scott Manson dropped back to P7. South Island champ Christopher Cox in 8th. Brad Still 9th. James Higgins 10th.